What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to make a video talking about who is going to headline UFC 306 in the Sphere. This card has been talked about so much, and we really don't have any fight announcements for it. The soonest fight announcement we really have is Israel Adesanya versus Dricus du Plessis headlining UFC 305, and it's really questioning to me who is going to headline UFC 306. So if you guys enjoy this UFC content, please leave a like and subscribe. 99% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. So if you enjoy the UFC content, please leave a like and subscribe. And let's get right into the video. So over the past couple of months, Dana White has really pushed the agenda that UFC 306 is going to be the biggest event in UFC history. He has already come out and said that he has put over $17 million into this event, happening in mid-September. But we still don't have a main event for this fight card, and I'm really wondering who this event is. I thought that they would announce it during International Fight Week, but they ended up not. And we're still with a vacant main event. And there's really two different people who I think are two different fights that could really happen to main event this card. I think the first fight that could main event this card is Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. And the second fight I could see main eventing this card would be Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. But let's get right into the first fight that I possibly think could headline this, and that is Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili, and why I think it could headline it. So I believe that Sean O'Malley will headline this event, or possibly could headline this event, because he is one of the biggest stars in the UFC currently. No matter if you like him or hate him, hate his persona, I think that this is a very appealing persona to put on this UFC card. You look at his last pay-per-view draw at UFC 299 in Miami versus Chito Vera, and it was one of the biggest gates the UFC has ever seen. And I believe that this will be something to really appeal to the fans, to have Sean O'Malley main eventing this card. And Merab Dvalishvili, we all know, is an amazing character. You see his skits on Instagram and Twitter, and the fans are starting to love him. And in his last fight at versus Henry Cejudo, he literally picked up and dragged Henry Cejudo across the octagon. So ultimately, I do think a fight for Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili would be an amazing fight to put on for UFC 306 at the Las Vegas Sphere. Next off, I want to get into why I think Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway could be the main event, and we all know that Ilia Topuria just knocked out one of, if not the greatest UFC featherweights of all time in Alexander Volkanovski in dominant fashion. I think Ilia Topuria probably lost that first round, but in that second round, he came back, cut off the cage perfectly, and knocked out Alexander Volkanovski perfectly. And you look at what Max Holloway just did at UFC 300, and there's no more explanation of why he is one of the biggest stars in the UFC currently, knocking out Justin Gaethje for the BMF title. So I think ultimately this is probably the more likely event to headline UFC 306, have a featherweight title on the line, and have a BMF title on the line. And this would be absolutely insane to happen, have a double title on the line. If Max Holloway wins, he keeps the BMF and gets the featherweight. But if Ilia Topuria wins, he gets the BMF title and keeps the featherweight strap. But what I think is going to happen is I think that both of these fights are going to be on this card. I think the co-main event for this card is going to be Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili, and I do think the main event is going to be Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. Just understanding how much money Dana White has put into this card and how much effort he wants to put in this card and how big it wants to be, why not throw both of these fighters on this card? I have a feeling that this card is going to be closer to a card like UFC 299 or 300, that a card was absolutely stacked top to bottom, rather than something like UFC 301, just because of how much effort Dana White is putting into this event and wanting to make this a massive event a year. He also paired with Riyadh Season, which is just it's a Saudi Arabia kind of event company where they're just trying to push massive fighting events to make a fundraiser or a profit, and pairing that with something like UFC 306 not only makes this a bigger event, but also shows that Dana White's ability to get other people's help to really push the agenda. But really, I think this card is going to be main evented by Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. I also feel like the co-main event of this card is going to be Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili, and there is going to be a third title fight on this card between Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko 3. You all know that those two women fought at UFC 285 last year and UFC Noche last year, where Alexa Grasso won the first fight, and it was a draw between the second fight, but we all know Valentina Shevchenko won. But we're going to get the trilogy rematch, hopefully at UFC 306 on that card. Please let me know if you think that this is a good main, co-main, and possible featured fight on for UFC 306. I don't see any other way that Max Holloway and Ilia Topuria and Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili don't headline this event. But if not both, I think one of those two fights will headline UFC 306. If you enjoy the UFC content, please leave a like and subscribe. And while you're down there, please turn on post notifications so you're always notified when I drop or release videos. And please, please, please enjoy the video, and I will catch you guys really soon with more UFC content and news.